You walk into your office, coffee in hand, you open your laptop, and instead of your dashboard, you see your screen freezes. Your files vanish. A pop-up blinks in blood red saying just 5 words. Your files have been encrypted. And below it, a timer ticking down from 10 minutes. Looks scary? Well, you've just been hit by ransomware. Every file on every computer is now digital gibberish. Your customer database, your financial records, years of work, all gone. But here's what terrifies me more than the encryption. What you do in the next 10 minutes doesn't just decide whether you pay millions to criminals, but it decides whether your company survives or not. Because I'm about to show you exactly how this happened to a 135-year-old retail giant and one of the most trusted brands in the world and thousands of other companies. How one phone call, one password reset can bring down a billion-dollar empire. And more importantly, the exact playbook you need when it happens to you. See you there. I'm Shashi and I have spent 17 years in cybersecurity trenches. I've been in those 3 a.m. war rooms when everything's on fire, and I have seen both miraculous saves and devastating failures. Today, we are going deep, the anatomy of how ransomware really works, the companies that fell, and the exact 10-minute survival plan that separates the companies that recover from those that become cautionary tales. You're about to learn something 90% of business leaders don't know: how ransomware attacks actually progress, step by step. Let me tell you about April 2024. Easter weekend, a retail giant, 135 years in the business, 64,000 employees, nearly 10 million online customers, billions of revenues, one of the most trusted brands in their country. But what if I told you that this entire retail empire was brought down by a single phone call? But here's what Hollywood won't tell you. Hackers today don't break in, they log in with your credentials. Yeah, no phishing emails, no USB drop-ins in the parking lot, just valid credentials brought off the dark web for $25 a pop. And these credentials come from infected home machines, browser extensions, or even those info stealers that set in memory for months. They're sold by initial access brokers. You know, those boring password audit reports that say 37% of employees reuse passwords? Exactly. That's how attackers get in. VPN credentials, RDP sessions, even old cloud directory guest accounts that no one ever disabled. So when the attacker called the IT contractor help desk and said, "Hey, this is Mike from the London office. I'm logged out of my account for the quarterly report. Can you reset my password?" They weren't just guessing. They already had Mike's credential from data breach 6 months earlier. They knew his employee ID, his department name, and even his manager's name. The contractor reset the password and the attackers were in. But here's where it gets terrifying. Once they are in, they are not smashing windows. They are studying blueprints. They become you. They start by observing, start using tools like Bloodhound and Sharphound, where they scan your Active Directory environments, map out your privilege graph, find accounts with dormant admin access. They check your group policy objects. They look for expired service accounts with full disk access. Then comes the mimicry. Using AI, the malware learns user patterns, what time they log in, what they open first, how long they stay on Outlook. They test alert thresholds, like how many logins before the SOC notices. Then they escalate. They use tools like Mimikatz to steal LSASS tokens and Rubius to forge Kerberos ticket. And if they are lucky, they find unconstrained delegation still enabled. Yes, even in 2025, that still exists. For 2 months, from February to April, they operated like digital archaeologists. They found and stole the ntds.dit file, the master key database for Windows networks. It had every password hash, every privilege level, every trust relationship inside Windows networks. They mapped every backup location, every recovery system, every just-in-case safety net. And then they did something that shows just how professional these criminals have become. They tested the backups silently. 2 days before the attack, they corrupted them. Not obviously, just enough to make restoration fail at critical moments. On April 21, 2024, 2:17 a.m., your systems are quiet, your staff is asleep, your CM dashboards show nothing, and then everything locks. The malware pushes ransomware binaries to 94 endpoints using PSExec, all within 40 seconds. It uses ChaCha20 encryption wrapped in RSA 2048. It deletes your shadow copies using VSS admin. It exfiltrates customer data to a hidden S3 bucket. This isn't smash and grab, this is art, and it's being automated by AI. By dawn, one of the world's largest retailers were offline. Contactless payments down. Online ordering dead. 200 warehouse workers were sent home, and supply chains disrupted. But here's what really happened in those first critical minutes, and why this company's response both saved them and costed them hundreds of millions. To understand why this retail giant got hit so hard, you need to see how ransomware evolved from petty crime to sophisticated business operations. What if I told you that ransomware groups these days have HR departments, customer service desks, and even performance reviews? But ransomware didn't start with Lockbit or Conti. It began in 1989 with PC Cyborg spread via floppy disks. Victims were asked to send $189 to a PO box in Panama. And from 2014 to 2016, the amateur hour crypto locker, crypto wall, they were like digital muggers. They hit random targets, demanded $300 to $500, hoping someone would pay. Basically, they were spray and pray. In 2017, the game changer WannaCry hits in May. Over 300 machines across 150 countries were affected, and NotPetya ransomware with $10 billion in global losses. The UK NHS went down. Hospitals couldn't access patient records. Ambulances were diverted, surgeries cancelled. But criminals learned something crucial from these attacks. Indiscriminate destruction is bad for business. 2020 and present is the professional era of ransomware. Today, ransomware is a $30 billion economy. Yes, billion with a B. You can rent Lockbit as a service for $80 a month. Get affiliate commissions, even support channels. And now we have Scattered Spider, the group that hit our retail giant. They are not teenagers in business. They are organized crime syndicates with reconnaissance team that spend months studying targets. They have social engineering specialists trained in psychological manipulation. They have technical teams using enterprise-grade tools and negotiation specialists who understand insurance policies and business valuations. And the results speak for themselves. In 2021, Colonial Pipeline was hit by a ransomware and paid $4.4 million as ransom. They had 6-day shutdown. CNA Financial paid $40 million as ransom. JBS Meat Processing, global operation halted by Kaseya ransomware. 1,500 downstream companies were affected. And then came our retail giant, proving that even 100-plus-year-old companies with established cybersecurity teams are not safe from a well-executed phone call. So when you see that ransom note pop up on your screen, here's your survival playbook. These 10 minutes will determine everything. What you're about to learn could save your company millions or your job. The first 2 minutes are crucial, what I call isolation protocol. Your first instinct will be to investigate. Don't. Just resist. Your only priority right now is containment. Do this immediately. Disconnect affected systems from the network. Yank cables if necessary. Shut down VPN access. Isolate critical servers and domain controllers. Alert your incident response team if not done already. Our retail giant shut off their VPN within 15 minutes. Yes, it disrupted remote work, but it also prevented the attack from spreading to additional systems. Ransomware spreads through network trust relationships. So you break the connection, you stop the spread. Minute 3 to 5 are damage assessments. Now you assess the scope while containing the spread. First, intelligence gathering. Which systems are encrypted versus offline for protection? Are domain controllers compromised? Is Active Directory intact? What about backups? Can you access them? These are the questions you should ask. Number 2, technical forensics. Check for beaconing to command and control servers. Look for credential dumping artifacts like Mimikatz traces. Identify patient zero if possible. Our retail giant, in this case, has discovered that attackers had been in their network since February, 2 months before striking. Your recent incident might have started months ago. Minute 6 to 8 talks about business continuity activation. This is where technical response meets business reality. The immediate action is to activate manual processes, if any, contacting critical customers and suppliers and informing about the cyber attack, assess regulatory notification requirements, if any, briefing executive leadership with facts and not speculations, and then contacting cyber insurance carrier, engaging incident response firm, and notifying law enforcement agencies about the attack. And the last 2 minutes, they come up to the pay, don't pay decision. Here, the math is brutal and the clock is ticking. Our retail giant lost $40 million per week in immediate impact. Total estimated cost were $300 million. Market value dropped $700 million in days. And there are important decision factors that needs to be taken care of, like how long will restoration take from the backups? Are backups intact and unencrypted? What are the legal restrictions on paying ransom? What are the reputational damage versus operational impact? The harsh reality is 70% of companies that pay ransom get only some data back, and 65% get all their data back, and 37% get hit again within a year. Our retail giants' response choice and whether they paid ransom or not remains classified, but their online systems stayed down for months, suggesting they chose the hard path of full restoration. But here is the truth. If you're making pay, don't pay decisions in those 10 minutes, you're already lost. The real battle is won in the architecture you build today. So how do we fight something so evolved? I'm about to show you the technical controls that would have stopped our retail giant's attack cold. Let's see. Defense Layer 1. Zero standing privilege. Prevention starts with your identity layer. No user should have constant admin access. Use just-in-time access with full session recording. The attack here succeeded because of identity failures. One social engineering call to reset one password, and that password had excessive privileges. And once inside, lateral movement was unrestricted. It's important to implement privilege access management with just-in-time access through credential vaults. Having service account credentials, which is rotated every 24 hours. Using privileged access workstations for admin tasks. And most importantly, multi-factor authentication implementation on everything, especially password resets. So in short, implementing zero trust architecture would have solved this problem. Here, if the IT contractor help desk had required multi-factor authentication for password resets, the attack stops at step 1. Defense layer 2. Immutable backup strategy. Implementing out-of-band storage where there is no network visibility would have saved this. Remember, our attacker tested and corrupted backups 2 days before striking. Using object lock in cloud storage, which cannot be modified as they are worm storage like write once, read many. Having air-gapped backup repositories with zero network access, and having cryptographic backup integrity checks and alerting when the integrity checks have been broken. In 2021, when Colonial Pipeline was hit, they had immutable backups, which is why they eventually restored from backup despite paying the ransom. Coming to defense layer 3, AI-powered behavioral detection. Signature-based detection often fails against AI-generated or polymorphic ransomware due to lack of known indicators. Behavioral analytics detect ransomware based on anomalous actions like rapid encryption, unusual process trees, or memory manipulation. Implementing user and behavioral entity analytics flags deviation from normal user behavior such as stealthy or repetitive access patterns. Implementing credential analytics helps detect misuse of compromised accounts and sudden privilege escalations. And detecting lateral movement identifies unusual remote access or pivoting between systems. AI-powered defenses are essential to detect and respond to threats created or obfuscated by AI. Remember, Scattered Spider spent 60 days in our retail giant's network, perfectly mimicking user behavior. Here, you have to understand that the goal isn't perfect prevention. It's reducing dwell time from the average 287 days to 2 to 7 days maximum. And for CISOs and business leaders, please train your staff, simulate ransomware attacks, print your incident response plan, test your backups, please really test them, and run tabletop exercises where everything goes wrong. Ransomware isn't malware anymore. It's an economy, a strategy, a system that punishes the unprepared. But the preparation? That's still human. Our retail giant is a 100+ years old institution with billions in revenue, hundreds of cybersecurity professionals using enterprise-grade defenses, and still one phone call brought them down. But your story doesn't have to end like theirs, because when ransomware hits, you don't get to research, you don't get to ask ChatGPT, you just have to act. So ask yourself, does your team know what to do in those 10 minutes? Do you? If not, start today, because the next screen you see could be that timer. And if this deep dive opened your eyes to the reality we are facing, hit that like button and subscribe, and share with one person you care. I've got more real-world attack breakdowns coming, technical deep dives, and practical defense strategies you can actually implement. And remember, in cybersecurity, paranoia isn't a character flaw, it's a survival skill. Until next time, stay resilient, stay skeptical, and stay human. And above all, stay hard to encrypt.